Welcome once again to the Mask Fanatic, fellow mask fanatics and lovers of all things spooky and creepy and Halloweeny. Always nice to see you up here in the musty, dusty, crusty, filthy, contaminated, nasty attic. With me, the filthy, nasty, musty, dusty, crusty, contaminated host, Dr. Lady. Now this week's mask is a pretty disturbing one. May prove upsetting to some viewers. So kids, you should probably put your parents to bed at this point because they may be upset by the sight of such a horrifying thing as what I am about to show you. This is from Death Studios. That's right, Death Studios. And it's called Hack-O-Lantern. What? Yes, Hack-O-Lantern. Now, Hack-O-Lantern here, nasty, huh? Scary, creepy, nasty Hack-O-Lantern was sculpted by an artist named Michael Smith, not to be confused with either John Smith or David Smith, both of whom are also mask sculptors. This one is by a fellow named Michael Smith, and it was available for a while in the OOs, in the form you see here. Now, if you're thinking, is that still available through the Death Studios website as I sit here watching this Mask Fanatic video? Well, the answer is yes and no. Or the shorter answer is yes, no. What do I mean by that? Well, to this very day, you can get a similar version, a variation on this theme, which is the No Eyes Hack-O-Lantern. Okay? It's not quite the same as this one, but it's the No Eyes Hack-O-Lantern. Now, it's exactly the same sculpture and the same paint job and the same detailing and everything, except for the no eyes part, you see. And when I say no eyes, I don't mean that these whole areas have been cut out, like so your eyes would show if you wore it. No, it isn't like that. Rather, in the eye sockets, it has some sculpted and molded in red, bloody, stringy goop, you see, in here. So it looks like he doesn't have any eyeballs. Both versions were or are available, either wearable, which the wearable versions had little slits trimmed out above there, and in the eye goop had little hidden slits in the recessed areas, and the display versions and the untrimmed ones, which of course do not have holes trimmed. You following me? Sure. Now, as you can see, as you may have figured out on your own, old Hack-O-Lantern here, not to be confused with the old 80s horror movie called Hack-O-Lantern, alternatively known as Halloween Night. That featured a mask too, but it was a different one. That featured a Be Something Studios Hooded Fear mask, but did not, ironically, feature the mask called Hack-O-Lantern. Well, how could it? It wasn't around yet in the 80s, you see. But as you may have figured out, Hack-O-Lantern is basically a guy who was a human being at some point, but either well, had his head and face carved into a Halloween pumpkin by an unusually creative maniac or psycho killer of some sort, or I think even more disturbingly, maybe a guy who cut his own head and face up like a Halloween pumpkin jack-o'-lantern, which would make him a real wacko-lantern, wouldn't it? Pretty creepy in either case, and very well wrought. The blood looks nice and realistic and wet, and the eyes are pretty freaky in the version with the eyes, which I prefer. Although, if you love this idea and you love the way it looks with the eyes, you could probably get one of the no eyes Hack-O-Lantern masks and fabricate some sort of fake eyes. Get yourself some acrylic eyes or plastic eyes of some sort that you could put in there and have a pretty similar effect to this. Now, there has been talk for some years of Death Studios bringing back this version. The reason this one was discontinued rather quickly, whereas the no eyes version was offered for years and years after this one, the reason for that is that there were problems with the mold having to do with the eye areas, because it was a different mold used. So someday this may be reintroduced on the Death Studios website, so if you like it, you may want to check back there and see if they've offered it again, or you may want to settle for the no eyes version, or you may prefer the no eyes version. As I said, I like the version with the eyes because it's more bizarre and creepy and and freaky looking to me, a lot more dramatic. But as you can see, he's got sculpted in teeth there where his flesh from his lips and mouth and all that have been removed. You can see his teeth, so you can see some skull in there. Really creepy concept, I think, and I had a wonderful plan to use this in a scene in Horror Hotel, and it wasn't to happen. It never happened. But who knows? Who knows? Something like it may still happen. I may still get to use this mask somehow, somewhere in some Halloween scene, because, well, I find that if you live long enough, you can eventually see all your ideas fail. At least that's been my experience. But anyway, Hack-O-Lantern from Death Studios, as I said. You may be able to get it eventually again from Death Studios, or you may find one on eBay or someplace like that if you keep checking back. Or you may want to go ahead and buy the more common no eyes version and scare the neighbors away with that. Now until next time, I bid you good night, and do watch your step up here, because it's really easy to get hurt on all these sharp objects and dead bodies and pools of unknown, mysterious, gooey liquids. So watch your step. And you know, this place wouldn't be so bad if you'd come over and clean it up like you promised you would. Why didn't you come and clean it? Oh well.